Today is Mr. Brent Morris.
Good morning, everybody, and hi to our Sweden, right?
Hey, hey.
Hey, okay, hey, hi. First of all, I want to say a big shout out to Kyle. Coming up to you here to do Thought of the Day, if many of you have done it, there's a lot of pressure, right? And Kyle was asked to do it yesterday, and he was supposed to have done it today, so let's give him a big round of applause. So, yesterday was June 1st, and in addition to being Steve Delgado's birthday, it's also the beginning of Pride Month and Pride History Month. Yesterday, someone asked my advice on rainbow cookies for the Pride celebration. And while I love that it's going to be a Pride celebration, we can do a lot more to highlight the work that still needs to be done when it comes to LGBTQ rights. So what is gay pride? Pride Month recognizes the impact that LGBTQ individuals have had on equality and civil rights locally, nationally, and globally. It aims to increase the understanding of and reduce violence towards LGBTQ people. In your life, some of you may refer to the gay people as fags, dykes, trannies, or other harmful names. However, LGBTQ refers to individuals in the community who identify themselves as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning. Pride Month is celebrated in June to commemorate the 1969 Stonewall riots in Manhattan, New York. The Stonewall riots were a critical moment for the LGBTQ rights in the United States. At the time, it was illegal to conduct any public behavior that could be considered gay. This included holding hands, kissing, dancing, wearing non-gender appropriate clothing, and even gathering in groups. Until 1966, gay bar patrons in New York could not be served alcohol. Private, same-sex, intimate relationships were considered criminal acts. We've certainly come a long way, but I want to highlight how far we still have to go. When making the decision to be open about your identity, whether it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, it's a decision that you have to get comfortable with first. Speaking from my own experience, the realization of being gay brought with it fear, shame, loathing, and that I will never be good enough, and apologizing for myself, hiding in the shadows, and hoping nobody would find out. Generally, when coming out to families, there are not many mothers who on Year in the News go running to celebrate and tell their neighbors that their child just shared the news that they're gay. More often, the news is received with disappointment, shame, disgust, parents wondering what they did wrong, parents hoping it's a thing and it'll just go away. Of course, there are those who are embraced with love and immediate acceptance, and there are those who eventually receive acceptance. But unfortunately, there are those who never receive acceptance from the people who mean the most to them. 46% of lesbian, gay, and bi people, and 47% of trans people feel able to be open about their sexual orientation or gender identity to everybody in their family. That's less than half. CNN anchor Don Lemon, who came out in the last few years, shed more light on the difficulty and importance of coming out as African American. It's quite different for an African American male. It's about the worst thing you can be in black culture. You're taught you have to be a man, you have to be masculine, and in the black community, they think they can pray the gay away. Jails and prisons are traumatizing and often dangerous places, especially for LGBTQ people and anyone who doesn't fit gender stereotypes. Sexual minorities are incarcerated at 3 times higher than the general population, and transgender people are also incarcerated at disproportionate rates, with black transgender women incarcerated 10 times the rate. While in prison, men and women, as well as men and women, are also 10 times likely to be sexually victimized. And to put that in easier words, that's 1 in 8. In 17 states, transgender men and women are unable to make main changes if they have some criminal record. What this tells us, there's a unique need to increase reentry services amongst the incarcerated LGBT community, and in particular, those that identify as transgender. Moving away from incarceration, here's some other statistics. 64% of LGBTQ people had experienced anti-LGBTQ violence. In 2021, conservative state lawmakers proposed more than 110 anti-bills against trans people. 41% of trans people have identified a hate crime or incident because of their gender identity. There are 53 countries in the world where being HIV can land you in prison or being deported from the country. 70 countries criminalize same-sex relationships, and in 11 of those countries, you can get the death penalty for being gay. And a quarter of the world's population believe that identifying as LGBTQ should be a crime. This year, I decided to become a counselor at the Trevor Project. They focus on suicide prevention and crisis intervention for LGBTQ youth. LGBTQ youth experience depression and suicide at 2 times the rate of straight youth. The Trevor Project found that 52% of LGBTQ youth who enrolled in middle or high school reported being bullied. In particular, Black, transgender, and non-binary youth report suicide risk, with 59% seriously considering suicide, but more than 1 in 4 attempting suicide. But listen to this. Having at least one accepting adult can reduce the risk of suicide attempt among LGBTQ young people by 40%. That's just one person. So I've brought to your attention information that you may never have known and considered about the LGBT community. I hope that it's highlighted to you to make the choice to share identity amongst the LGBT community. It takes courage, vulnerability, and often a big risk. After hearing this, I would like you to consider showing the greatest love and respect and appreciation to any individual who shares their LGBTQ identity with you. And you embrace them for a courage to be themselves as they strive to be honest and choose their lives as they are, as they feel they should be, and as who they want to identify. Think about it. It's very brave to be vulnerable about your feelings in any sense and in any situation, but it's even more brave to be honest about your feelings, about who you love, when you know that it might be met with adversity from the people around you and society. I want to take a moment to reach out to those in our community who are on the journey called life and have not felt comfortable enough to come out or are struggling with their LGBTQ identity. May you do that on your own time, and know there are people here who will support you with open arms and love you should you want to talk. Steve Avalos once shared to me that Homeboy will have reached its mission when we end up in a world where everybody can live and love equally, and no one has to be afraid to be vulnerable to identify as LGBTQ. Ultimately, as G says, we are all unshakably good and we belong to each other. And so my final thought with you, just to share with you what gay pride means for me. As a gay man, I believe, compared to many, I had it easy. I was bullied from a young age and called many names. And because I was interested in theatre, music and arts at school, many assumed I was gay. My name, Brent, made me very vulnerable because the word bent in the UK means gay. So guess what my name was for a very early age? Everybody called me Bent. Yeah, right? So I really wasn't ready to admit to myself that I was gay until my early 20s. My coming out to my mother was sitting on the stairs of her house, crying furiously, while she went through a list of what could be wrong. And when she got to the question, "Are you gay?" I howled, "Yes." Little did I know at the time that in her living room was my 3 aunties, uncles, brother, sister, and friends, all listening. I was horrified and hid for days. My mother was not accepting at first, but eventually she did come round. I know that she continues to love me, but she needed to get used to it, and once she did, for many years she supported and loved me for who I am. And so for me, gay pride is being able to walk down the street in my own skin, knowing that I am loved by my husband, by my family, by the people that I work with, and by my friends. Knowing internally that it's perfectly okay to be gay, and being proud of myself for who I am, unapologetically. Thank you.